Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at some new Egyptian cards coming out, aka Ishtar cards, which I'm really excited about. And this is not Egyptian gods, these are just straight up Egyptians, as she was basically associated with gravekeepers, but it looks like she might be getting her own kind of character deck. And on top of that, the new card that was hyped up for a while, the Proxy Horse, finally has its effect. Let's go ahead and see if it's going to be living up to its hype. But the first card that we're going to be taking a look at is Zolga the Prophet. They did make a note here. It says a new card for Ishizu's, aka Ishtar's, anti-god strategy. So maybe it's anti-Egyptian gods, which I don't really think we need those, right? I mean, Egyptian gods are definitely very hype, but they're not going to be anywhere near something we should have to worry about, unless they're going to be even coming out with more OP support for them. So that's a good look on it. Hopefully we get some OP Egyptian god support in the future. And if you guys want that, drop a like on this video. But let's go ahead and check out Zolga the Prophet's effect. So it's going to be a level 4 Earth Fairy effect monster with 1700 attack and 1200 defense points. And it says that you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first effect is if you control an Earth Fairy monster other than Zolga the Prophet, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then look at up to 5 cards from the top of each deck. The second effect is when a monster normal summoned by attributing this card declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. 2,000 is actually a pretty decent little number over there. I'm curious to know, actually off the top of my head, I can't even think of what the heck do people play that's an Earth and a Fairy. So if we go ahead and go check out what would actually be support for this, because I don't really feel like that there's that many other than the Time Lord. So is this going to be a Time Lord oriented deck? I mean, a lot of these cards are just straight up from like anime over here as well. I mean, I guess there's like the Fluffles. I don't think it's going to work quite well in Fluffles, or I guess there's Agito. Agito actually has potentially a really cool effect where you just special summon a fairy monster from your graveyard where you roll a 6-sided die. But for the most part, I don't think that the actual fairies, you know, the OG fairies that we're used to, basically like the agents, were probably the most of the meta fairies in the game, will be able to really utilize this. So I think it's going to be its own standalone archetype, part of, again, Ishtar over here. So that's kind of cool. Next up, though, we have a new Millennium card, which is pretty cool. So its name is the Millennium Seeker. It is a level 4 Dark Spellcaster effect monster with 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense points. And it says you can only use this card's name first and second effects once per turn each. The first effect is when you take 1,000 or more battle or effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. The second part of it says you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard that does not have question mark attack. Your opponent can choose one monster in their deck that does not have question mark attack, but if they do not choose a monster, or if that target's attack is higher than the chosen monster, special summon that target to your field. Also shuffle their chosen monster, if any, back into the deck. Otherwise, your opponent adds their chosen monster to their hand. So definitely a double-edged sword with this. Obviously, the summon condition is pretty easy. We don't really need to explain that too much. Obviously, the effects are also once per turn each. But potentially allowing yourself to have a one card to go ahead and special summon another monster could be kind of good, but at the cost of potentially letting your opponent add back a monster from, you know, going super plus for them could be too big of a deal breaker. But at the end of the day, a lot of you guys know if your opponent maybe uses some hand traps early on, and you can make one of those insane boards where it's just like impossible for them to win. At the end of the day, giving them the extra card might not actually matter. But you guys can let me know how you feel about this. You guys think this card is actually any good, or is it too minus? Because remember, otherwise your opponent gets to add their chosen monster to their hand, and I think that that's just really insane in Yu-Gi-Oh! To have that as, you know, this is your card, not your opponent's, for them to get that much of an advantage. Next up, we're going to be checking out the Proxy Horse. This is, again, that card that they've been hyping up. So Proxy Horse is a light cyberse effect, level 4. Attack and defense is 1100. It says you can only use each of the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is if you use this card, you control as link material for a cyberse monster. One cyberse monster in your hand can also be used as material. This is actually a really good effect. Almost reminds me of, was it Eccentric Boy back in the day when people used to run that in like Stardust Assault mode. The second part of it says, during your end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 2 Link monsters in your graveyard, including at least 1 Cyberse monster, and return them to the extra deck. So that's awesome. You're going to be able to use it as stepping stones, and you can kind of reset some of your cards to go ahead and combo off maybe later down the line to use it as a kind of a recycle ability. But, you know, with Pot of Virus at so many over here, I don't know if this effect matters that much versus the first effect just being so good. But it's still a great effect nonetheless. You do happen to have that ability to reset some of the cards. I wish it also worked on like Banish and Face Down so you can use some of the other like more recent newer cards. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for the newer Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Let me know what you guys are excited about. I'm just excited about Ishtar finally getting her own like archetype versus again Gravekeepers, because that's kind of how she was associated. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you guys are new here and want to see some of these cards in action with some gameplay later, maybe once you get some more cards, we'll be able to get you guys some better gameplay. As just these 2 cards alone, we need a lot more Earth Fairies in the game that aren't in the anime section, because that's a lot of the cards already. But anyways, take care guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good one, and I'm signing out. Peace.